Join me today on Walk with History from the Battle of Shiloh, Tennessee. Shiloh Park, you're going to see these markers, and I just want to explain them to you real fast before we go. Any square marker, so the blue and the yellow are Federal, the red will be Confederate. And blue and yellow, Army of Tennessee, Army of Ohio, if they're square, they're giving you numbers. If they're kind of have the ornamental corners, that's the first day of battle. If they're oval, it's the second day of battle. So remember, blue and yellow, Union, red, Confederate. You're going to see them all along the battlefield. We're here today at the battlefield Shiloh, and I'm about to go into the one-room rustic log cabin. It was a meeting house called Shiloh, which means peace in Hebrew. This is a recreation of what this one-room meeting house church looked like in 1862. And this is where Sherman is going to decide to build his headquarters. Again, this is on the border of Mississippi and Tennessee. And this is where the Union is going to make an offensive to drive into Mississippi. They've taken two strategic places in Tennessee along the Tennessee River. And they're looking at the railroad lines in Corinth, Mississippi, which is right on the border of Tennessee. They want to cut off logistics for the South. And so that's why they're looking at riverways and railroad lines. And Corinth, Mississippi is a nice conjunction of two major railroads, Mobile and Memphis. Railroads meet there in Corinth, Mississippi. So this is a Pittsburgh landing area. Is right here along the Tennessee River. This is where Sherman could offload his troops. He has about 40,000 troops. He's able to offload them here, and then Grant will stay a little bit upriver at Savannah, Tennessee. And he has his own steamboat, the Tigris. And so he's able to come here every day, check with Sherman, check on the troops, and see what's going on. Unbeknownst to them, the Confederates are making a push here. You have Johnston and Beauregard who are coming this way. They are going to try to take the landing. They want to stop any kind of logistics of Union troops being able to get into the area. And so they're going to be on the offensive. They want to attack the Union here. Now, it's not quite a surprise as it's made out to be. Sherman sees the Confederates coming, he hears them coming, they're firing practice shots on their way here. So he knows they're there, he just doesn't know how many, and he really doesn't know that they're going to attack. So it's not quite a surprise that they're there, it's more a surprise that they decide to attack. Now that morning of April 6th, when they do attack early in the morning at 6 a.m., Grant will hear the attack happen in Savannah, Tennessee, upriver, and he gets here about 9 a.m. And he gets right on the front line, he meets with Sherman, and he starts to execute orders along the line. Now, the issue is that even though it's evenly matched at that point with about 45,000 Confederates and about 40,000 Union, it's at this point that it's been raining for a couple days and there's lots of infantry, people get exhausted, and it just makes for really hard fighting, and people are exhausted by the end of the day. Now, you're also going to lose Johnston. He's going to be the highest ranking officer killed in the Civil War. He gets killed here that first day of Shiloh on April 6, 1862. And Beauregard, for all of that, he basically rests at 6 p.m. on April 6th. Even though the Confederates have won, they've had some surrender happen at the Hornets Nest. They're sleeping in Sherman's headquarters that first night. They are exhausted. In the evening of the 6th, in the morning of April 7th, Grant is reinforced by more troops, about 25,000 fresh troops. And that's why when you see the numbers, and it's 65,000 Union and 45,000 Confederacy, it's because they add on those 25,000 that Grant gets that second day. And that's why the Union will have little to no trouble in the morning when they're on the offensive, they attack, they actually clinch the victory from the Confederates. So I'm here at the surrender of the Hornets Nest. So this is a significant place in the Battle of Shiloh that was held by the Union for hours. Battle here started about a little before 6 a.m. and they wouldn't surrender until about 5:30 p.m. So they held out this area all that time, and you're gonna lose some really big Union officers here. Wallace will fall here, but Prentiss will actually surrender here. About 2,500 men will surrender here to Bragg and Polk and Breckinridge. They kind of surround them in all areas, and when they surround them, they actually surrender here. That's why the first day looks so bleak, is because this is the end of April 6th, 1862. This is the end of the first day. They have held their own for all these hours. They have allowed the Union to retreat. They have allowed the Union to fall back. This has given them time to save a lot of men. Unfortunately, those 2,500 men would be captured, and then they're going to be sent to Southern military prisons. Well, they're hit by all these batteries. So you're going to see a lot of cannons around Shiloh because they have all these cannons set up on both sides, and the artillery that keeps getting hit. What I think is most interesting, and what I think you really need to understand, is how thick the forest is. So here we are, April 6th and 7th. It gets really rainy here in Tennessee that time of year. They had already been through a couple rainy days before the battle begins. It's very swampy in this area, and then they're getting bombarded by cannonballs, and it makes it very smoky and hard for them to see. They don't really know where to retreat or where to get out. That's what Wallace is looking for when he's shot. He's looking for a way to retreat his men. But because this is where the surrender happens at the Hornets Nest, this is where they have put up the Confederate monument. Now, this was put up in 1917 by the Daughters of the Confederacy. And of course, every little piece of it has meaning. There's 11 men there for the 11 Confederate states. The different men depict different units, but this Confederate monument is here at Shiloh because of the significance of the surrender of the Union men here at the Hornets Nest. Now remember, this happens the first day, because the second day, the tides will turn.
Oh, the things I've seen, oh, the things I've seen, oh, the things I've seen, yeah, the things I've seen, oh, that my fears are not lasting. And the violence in my bones has begun to dissipate.
So when we talk about the Hornets Nest and what actually, like, in the end ends up defeating the Hornets Nest, you got to think of Ruggles Battery, these 53 guns in position. So basically, you know, this is not a new area. When they say the element of surprise happens here at Shiloh, it's not much of a surprise. Both sides kind of knew each other were out there. They just didn't know to what extent how many were out there and what they were doing. But to get cannons in place, that's not like a surprise. These 53 guns are put in place, and like I showed you, the Hornets Nest, which was all wooded, they're just firing onto that wooded area out there. So I wanted to show you how the woods were just so confusing here. This is the surrender site. This is where Prentiss is going to actually surrender. Brigadier General Prentiss surrenders his men, his Union men, in the Hornets Nest, right? This is the Hornets Nest, where the Confederacy thinks they got to exterminate the Hornets. And they're getting bombarded by cannons, and it's smoky that they don't know where to go, but they're holding off the Confederates for so long, it allows the Union to retreat. Allows the Union to retreat and regather and regroup, and then to be invigorated by the new troops that come here in the night. Now, remember when I showed you the depictions of these signs and what they meant here at Shiloh, and the ornamental corners depicts the first day. This is the first day. Hornets Nest, captured, surrender, first day, right? If the Union is losing, it's the first day. The Union is winning, it's the second day.
To see how blood liberates. So far as I can tell, it has been, is, now will be love that saves.
So Grant is riding a high here, right? He's had these 2 successes in Tennessee. He gets here. He's kind of caught in between some jealousy from his upper-ranking generals who are wondering if he's drinking again, who don't want to give him full credit for his unconditional surrenders. Basically, Lincoln, who at the end of this battle, after Grant will snatch this victory from the jaws of defeat, and he's getting a lot, again, criticism for all the casualties that happen here. You're gonna get about 13,000 Union casualties and a little over 10,000 Confederate casualties. It is one of the bloodiest battles to date in America. It supersedes Revolutionary War, War of 1812, and the Mexican-American War all together. And so because of that, Grant is criticized by both the Union and the Confederacy for this battle, for losing so many men. But Lincoln, in the end, will say, I cannot spare this man. He fights. And that is so true. He is looking for somebody who is going to fight this war, who's going to get in there and fight back against the Confederates. They are here to fight, and we have to be here to fight. And that is how Lincoln feels. And this is where Grant is going to build his reputation even more. Interesting here about the Battle of Shiloh. It's one of the first battles where it's really blue and gray, right? The Union has established that as their color and their uniforms, and the Confederacy has established that as their color and uniforms. And they have started mass producing uniforms for both of their armies. So this is the first time in battle you're going to really get the blue against the gray, and you're going to be able to see distinctive soldiers for each side.
Down till I'm begging for rest. Heart so loud as it beats in my chest. Can't get down, no, we can't have the best of me. No, the devil's got no hold on me.
Some of the biggest criticism Grant is going to get for this battle, because he wins it as a Union general, is the loss of life here. Even with the win, you have over 3,500 dead here. And that is a lot of men, more men than they have had at any battle so far here in the Civil War. This is what a Confederate trench looks like at the Battle of Shiloh. So many men were dead here, and no one had time to bury them. A lot of them were buried where they lay, or they found these big trenches like this one to the Confederate dead in the trenches erected by the Tennessee Division 1935. And that sign back there says Shiloh 1862. So they were probably buried here in 1862. And this is one example of the large Confederate dead trenches, but they still find Confederate dead and Union dead buried all throughout this battlefield.
Can't you see he won't let me be? He tears me down till I'm begging for rest. Heart so loud as it beats in my chest. I can't get down, no, he can't have the best of me. No, the
battlefield of Shiloh. This is the area where the pond is located, right over my shoulder. You can see here. This is on the area on April 7th, 1862, about noon. Beauregard is going to decide to retreat. This is where he's bombarded so much by Grant's counterattack that he decides to go back to Corinth, Mississippi, right on the border of Tennessee and Mississippi, and retreat. But this statue that's here is in dedication of the Confederacy, put up by the Daughters of the Confederacy. This is the Tennessean of the Confederacy that's depicted here. Even though it's the Army of Ohio and Tennessee that are going to beat the Army of Mississippi, this is depicted for the Sons of the Confederacy.
Take your stand, don't forget you're in my hand.
As I stand here at Pittsburgh Landing, I'm walking in the steps of giants, right? This is where Sherman's going to offload his troops. This is where Grant offloads after his steamship Tigris will pull in here the morning of the 6th. And this is where Buell will reinforce with 25,000 troops. This is an area that's just so strategic, and this is why Sherman picks this spot. This is why Sherman will camp by Shiloh. This is why this battle is fought here. North calls it Pittsburgh Landing, South calls it Shiloh, but the location is because of the unique topography with the Tennessee River and able to offload troops. And it's just so amazing sometimes where things happen that are outside our control but lead to such strong moments in American history. And you never know when those moments in American history are going to happen. If you want to see more historical content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe to Walk with History on YouTube, and don't forget to listen to our Talk with History podcast. And on to our next Walk with History.